Good morning. My name is Steve Weber, and I am the host of the American Gumption Morning Show. And welcome to show number 61. Today is Friday, October 30th, last broadcast day of October. Tomorrow, the last day of October, Halloween. I guess there's not going to be any trick-or-treating this year because, social distancing and of course, we all already have it we're already all wearing masks, so it shouldn't be a problem if you go trick-or-treating, with your mask on. But hey, who knows? I'm not sure what's going to happen. Haven't heard too much about that. Friday or Saturday night, Sunday morning, we changed the clocks back. I was thinking about this. Do we actually change the clocks anymore, or is everything digitized that automatically changes? I was in my father's apartment the other day, and he's got like 8 different clocks in there, and we figured out that 7 of them will change automatically, but one of them he'll have to actually manually change. So we all have clocks that change. But in the olden days, you didn't have anything that changed automatically. The automatic changing of clocks only started in the last maybe 10 years or so, and even then it was kind of like it didn't always work. So anyway, that's what's happening coming up. Halloween tomorrow night. I don't know if anything's going on, and then the change in the from daylight savings time to standard time. Alrighty, so and then next week we'll be getting into the new month, November. Alrighty, election next week. So Tuesday, big day for the nonsense of people yelling and hollering. Hopefully, will come to an end, but. I'm an optimist in that regard. Alrighty. So anyway, today, and I should first of all, let me thank my broadcast partner, Spirituality Gone Wild. I have been with them, and they have been with me since the start of the American Gumption Morning Show 3 months ago. And so excited that they continue, and a lot of good things happening. I spoke about, my monologue on Tuesday was about what was happening with Spirituality Gone Wild, the growth and the member site, and some new partnerships and affiliations that are all happening. So Debbie G working behind the scenes to keep Spirituality Gone Wild growing and becoming a thriving network, and honored and happy to be part of that group. And so anyway, you can watch this show broadcast on either Spirituality Gone Wild Facebook page or the YouTube channel, or you can watch it on my American Gumption Morning Show page or the American Gumption YouTube channel. So that's please do watch, please like, and tune in as often as you can for the live shows, or watch the replays every day. Alrighty. Now, my guest, Brian Gregory, he is the founder and CEO of ADMANITY, and he is the inventor of the ADMANITY Protocol. He was on the show last Friday, and it was, we kind of did an overview of who Brian was and what the ADMANITY Protocol is and how it all came to be. But today I've invited them to come back, and we're going to do a deep dive into what the actual the brand attraction report looks like. And so I'll share some of the inside information that my report talks about with my brand. So that'll be coming up in just about 12 minutes or so from now. And let's see, I have a monologue. I'm going to talk about my Gumption brands. That'll tie in with what Brian and I are going to talk about. I've talked about the Gumption brand several times, but as time goes on, you get a little more clarity and you start to see things differently. So the view I had of it back in in August when I started the show, it's continuing to evolve. It hasn't radically changed or anything like that, but there's been an evolving. And so I'll talk about those brands and how they have to do with what the messaging and the ADMANITY protocol and the brand report, how it connects with what I'm thinking of doing as I go forward with this. Alrighty, now Monday coming up, I do not have a guest, and I'm probably going to be silent. I won't do a live show. I've done that the last every other Monday. And so I think that might be a good thing to do. I have a lot of projects going on, and that extra day gives me a little more time. Long term, I will do a best of show, fill it in there. Haven't gotten myself organized enough to make that happen quite yet. But anyway, so we'll just take Monday off. That's the plan. If of course, if I have a guest that has to be on or wants to be on Monday, I could change my mind. That's the beauty of this, is we have flexibility. And then I'll be back Tuesday live for the rest of the week, and a couple guests already scheduled. So we'll just fill you in on Tuesday all that's going to happen there. All righty. Now my monologue. Let's do a screen share here. Let's do a couple of adjustments with my my banner down below, and then the screen share. All righty. There we go. Yeah. So what I want to first share with you is the idea of the Gumption brands. And now this is something that I created at the end of May. And so a year ago, I had decided that American Gumption was going to become my new brand. And if you look at the bottom left corner of this grid, you can see that Speaking Gump, and that's been my brand for the last 10 years. And so that's still alive, speakinggump.com. That was the focus on really what my message of Gumption was all about, and 10 years worth of blog posts and different forms and different, lots of different ideas there. The evolution of how Gumption and the movie Life Lessons all came to be all resides in there. But I decided that I really wanted to go out on the road, meet people, interact, become more of like a broadcaster, or maybe like a reporter, interviewing people. Didn't quite know for sure what it would be, but thought I'm going to go out, live in an RV, travel around the country, meet ordinary people living extraordinary lives. And so that became the idea of the American Gumption brand. Now, I had all these other ideas. I wanted to create a member site. You can see that on the left side, also third down. And then I thought I have a sub brand, Changed by Gumption, which part of the Speaking Gump, that's there now. Technology Gumption is really more of an affiliate idea that I had, where I could share different tools that I'm using and recommend them and do little reports on them, and that could still happen. So that was the vision there. Now, RV Gumption was definitely plays a major portion in my future, since I'm going to live and work from the road. I thought, okay, what I can do is I can partner with some type of an RV brand or a dealership, and help to promote them and become maybe a spokesman for them as I travel around the country, and have basically create some type of a partnership or sponsorship with an RV brand. And so that is all in the works and happening behind the scenes. Nothing to announce at this point, but hopefully in the next month or two, there'll be something that I can more definitively say about that. So that's definitely going to be a brand. Now, the reason why I'm sharing all this is because each of these different brands and concepts have slightly different needs and maybe slightly different audiences. Now, someone might say, well, why in the world, Steve, don't you just focus on one thing and not get carried away with all this other things? And the reason being is that, I'm a kind of a guy who gets bored doing one particular thing. And so I thought, when I was back in May, when I was laying out what these were going to be, I had several of the ideas that I thought could happen sooner. And then I had several of the ideas that I thought would happen later, maybe not for a year or two. But I ended up wanting to create the different logos and brands so that I could at least, kind of see where I might go with this thing. And as it expands and grows, and then as I meet people, different people would have different interests. People who are living an RV lifestyle obviously would fit under the RV Gumption. Now on the right-hand side, I have three brands that I had no intention of even publicly sharing, but I decided to go ahead and publicly share them: Quantum Gumption, Global Gumption, and Classic Rock Gumption. And the thinking there was that, hey, these would be future off things. But I thought, it doesn't hurt to share them because we'll see how it evolves. In fact, Global Gumption, I almost changed it to American Gumption, the global Gumption, thinking that American Gumption was kind of, too small, because really we live in a global world. And I didn't want to, exclude who I might want to meet and interview with it. But I ultimately decided, since I'd be living primarily in the United States and traveling around, and I just, I feel a certain allegiance and patriotism towards our country, which I'm very proud of. And I thought, no, we'll keep American Gumption as the main brand, and Global Gumption can be, when I interview people internationally. And the Quantum Gumption is really more of the spiritual side, and that ties in directly with the spirituality gone wild. And scientifically, the quantum is something I have a strong interest in, and I've spoken a little bit about it, but I see like all of those kinds of blog posts or interviews, kind of falling into that category, whereas people living an RV lifestyle would fall into another category. And now the classic rock Gumption, that was strictly kind of a fun thing that I wanted to do, where I thought, hey, I'm going to be traveling around. Wouldn't it be cool to go to all of the classic rock stations and create some videos with these classic rock DJs' favorite songs, and I put the Gump costume on, and we sit on the bench, and we do a little bit of like jamming on the bench, maybe like kind of a dancing thing. But then the DJ shares his information about the song, and these are songs that I would remember from my childhood. And have a lot of meaning. Like, we grow up with certain music, and that music tends to stay with us. And so the classic rock is the music that I liked and appreciated. And so whether that ever happens or not, I'm not sure, but I threw it up there. And then the last one, right smack in the middle bottom, is Bench Gumption. And the idea there is that Pinterest, I've started a Pinterest page of benches from around the world, just nice pictures with benches sitting there. And they don't have people typically sitting on them. It's just a bench, but there's like like maybe a water scene in front, like a lake or the ocean, or, the mountains. And it's a place where people just sit and, like could sit and be peaceful, enjoy nature. And so I'm thinking, what if I, on a regular basis, did that and combined it with some type of a motivational or message? And so that's like an idea that I have in there. So anyway, that's kind of an update on the bench or all the Gumption brands. Obviously, Gumption is tied in with all of them, but they're like, they have like certain things would appeal to certain people, and then certain things may not appeal to other people as much. So anyway, so that was the vision. Now, that was the vision back in May when I created and finished all of these logos. And again, thinking they're not going to be used today, but I might grow into them. I do have all the domains, by the way, so ready to rock and roll and put them out when necessary. Now, August comes along, and I start the let's see, let's just minimize that. There we go. I think that's going to, there we go. Yeah. So August comes along, and I start the American Gumption morning show. And so now Spirituality Gone Wild becomes my broadcast partner. So I can very much see that. I wanted to show you one other. Let's do this. Let's change screens. Whoops. Let's go ahead and there we go. Let's put the bench or the van up there with the logos on it. Now, these are the same logos that I just showed you on the American Gumption RV. And so the idea being that, these brands, you're traveling around, you got a nice screen that, the thing is branded. Okay. So now I'm traveling around the country, but there's other partners that I'm going to find. I'm not going to necessarily have all of the logos that I have. I might have a couple of them, but I'm going to have sponsors and partnerships, affiliates, people that I'm connected with and, helping to promote and help grow their brand. And so Spirituality Gone Wild would be one of the very first brands that, obviously comes to play. It's like, okay, this is like, that's part of who I am. The morning show is being broadcast with Spirituality Gone Wild. So you can imagine the Spirituality Gone Wild logo, which we see right up in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. Is that the left, or is... Yeah, I think that's the left. Yes, that's the left. All right. And so anyway, that gets on there. Now, the RV. I'm going to have a partnership with some type of a brand, their logo or logos are affiliated with it. There could be, there's been some people that I've interviewed where there's an opportunity to represent them as an affiliate. And so talk about them, promote their brand. And then if you buy it, they don't do the traditional advertising where they pay somebody to say it, but they pay their customers to recommend it. And so that's a very real option and thing I'm looking into. Now, all of these different brands might have slightly different customers or people that want to, purchase. And so this is where the conversation that I had with Brian last week was so brilliant in the sense that he's created this test where you can say, who is your customer and who is your brand, and or what is it you're offering, and who is your ideal customer. And then he's going to, make the recommendation of what is the right kind of language, what is the right type of message that you want to communicate so that you can emotionally connect with that audience, and they will become clients or customers. And you shorten the need. Advertising is one of these things that happens, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And his ADMANITY Protocol is a system that he's created to kind of scientifically connect the buyers and the sellers and get them connected and create happy people. Of course, you have to deliver the product. You have to do what you say you're going to do. But if you have your product or your service solid and you know who your customer is, this is kind of like a shortcut for how to get connected with those people. So that's really, I think, what I wanted to say. One last thing about the branding, and this happened with a conversation that I had with Brian. What if you could create a brand that does what I'm talking about, where you have different affiliates or sponsors or advertisers who are connected with you, but they all kind of tie together in the sense that they all kind of are serving a similar audience, maybe not identical and maybe subtle differences, but overall there's like a strength in the brand that brings people together so that the guests that I have on the morning show, all kind of have the same kind of messaging, so that the people who like to watch the morning show and listen to the morning show all are interested in the types of topics and messages that the guests all have to say. And then the brands that you end up are aligning with, whether it be a sponsorship, a traditional advertising, or an affiliate, the same kind of thing where they connect. Now, I wouldn't expect them to match perfectly, but kind of from the high level, you would want them to all have similarities, so that everything that happens on the show and happens with the audience and the promote, or the promotions that are happening, all tie together. And there's examples of that out there. I'll ask Brian when he comes on if he can think of some brands that like maybe serve that purpose. But anyway, that was what we had talked about, and I thought, gee, that's pretty powerful. I would like to create that. Chalk me up for one of those. I want one of those. All righty. Now, I want to bring Brian on, but I have one weird thing happening. I noticed that my internet is not happening real quick here. Like I'm having a little bit of hesitation, and I'm not 100% sure why that is in terms of my screen. I expect that it's going out okay from a audio point of view. So I'm not sure if I want to restart my, my Chrome browser and do it, or if I just want to bring Brian in. But let's do this. Let's go ahead and bring Brian in, and then let's do it. And if I have to, I might jump out and leave Brian in charge of the American Gumption Morning Show for a few minutes while I refresh my screen, if that becomes necessary. So let's go ahead and invite Brian into the studio audience. Here we go, and stop that screen sharing. Maybe that's the issue. Whoops, there's Brian solo. Oh, here we go. Let's try this. Hi, Brian.
Good morning, Steve, and good morning to all viewers with Gumption.
Oh, it's funny now. My audio or my visual seems to have caught up where it's not hesitating and doing that kind of like slow, herky jerky thing. So anyway, I think we're okay. Is it sounding okay? Am I sounding okay from your
Yeah.
end? Very good.
Yeah, well,
All
that's
right.
what happens. That's what happens. I speed things up. Everything's working better now.
That's
I
right.
take full credit for anything good.
Well, good. Welcome back. You were here 1 week ago, and we started the conversation. We, we kind of gave us the history of who you were. You got into advertising and publishing about 20 years ago, and one of the things that you discovered is that the people who were advertising weren't submitting very good ads, and so they weren't selling the product, and then they're blaming you for, like, hey, this, I get no action from it. And so you ended up shifting from being a publisher to being more in the advertising business. Is that a fair assessment of how you transitioned into what you're doing today?
Yeah, the one thing you learn when you're dealing mostly with local businesses, medium-sized, small businesses, which is the majority of all businesses in this country, is that they have more desire than actual skill when it comes to advertising. It's because almost none of us were trained. You get minimal nuggets of wisdom from the internet. Your friends and family will advise you forever. And maybe you're lucky enough you took a couple courses in college. But most people really are not skilled in it. And so when it comes time to do their ads, create their ads, the burden is always on the advertiser to create the ad. The media people just want you to send over the creative. And if it doesn't work, people tend to blame the last place it was seen, right? Whether it's in a magazine or it's on this TV show or whatever it is. If it doesn't work, well, they blame the medium and not the ad. And it's just human nature to do that. Nobody's being a bad guy. But they don't know any better, and they were never trained. So they're just winging it. They're doing the very best they can. When it doesn't work, and it happens frequently enough that it's bad. It's a bad outcome. And I was being more or less not blamed, but there's no one else in the room taking a bow. I thought, I got to help these people because I do understand it better than they do. And some of them listened and acted on the advice, and they did a lot better. And the better they did, the more they liked it. And the more they liked it, the more they spent. And it was just a positive cycle instead of a negative cycle. And so I love this business because I'm helping people. And that's why I'm on your show, because your show helps people.
Yeah, well, thank you. And so we talked about, okay, that was your beginning. And then, somewhere around 7 years ago, you decided that, or you got the idea that what if I could systematize this whole process? Because you were probably, like a lot of ad people, kind of going by instinct, just kind of having a gut feel for, well, this is not working. Maybe this would work. And then, you were fortunate in the sense that you had that instinct, and then you started studying it and getting deeper into, like, well, this is why this works, and this is why this doesn't work in terms of particular ads. And you went so far as to figure out what campaigns in history, like, completely turned around companies and brands that were doing nothing, but then all of a sudden they got into an ad campaign, and they, maybe not quite an overnight success, but radically changed the fortunes of these brands, and they skyrocketed. And you did a lot of studying in there, and then you went, can we scientifically create something? So share a little bit about some of these ads that work, ads that don't work, and then your desire to systematize it.
Well, it started with a book that I wrote, and the book's called Sheep Don't Eat Complicated Grass. And people loved the book, and everybody that bought it said good things about it. And it was nice. It took several years to write the book because there's the principles in the book ended up being the foundational concepts for ADMANITY. But the problem with a book is that it's only good for the people who read the book. And a lot of people buy books but don't finish them, or just don't get around to reading them. And not nearly enough people were buying the book, right? It's just like everything else. You have to get above the noise. And I thought, well, this isn't reaching enough people. So I started to think, what could we do? I'll create an algorithm that people can go online and take a test and analyze their brand and give them way more details, way more depth, way more how-to, actual 1, 2, 3 formula. Just ABC done, right? Here's your owner's manual for your brand. It's all been calculated and it's ready for you to use now. That was the fantasy in the beginning. Could it be done? And it took several years, and it took a whole team of people here at ADMANITY. We got Roy Regalado, our president. If you like what ADMANITY looks like and what the brand represents, that's everything he did. Genius in branding, and our software engineer Chris Whitco made amazing things happen in software that so this process could actually be easy to use. So many great things have happened. And now it actually functions and it works. You can go online in 5 minutes. Your brand is analyzed by the algorithm, and you'll probably be blown away by the depth of information. I know you've seen some of that. You've experienced it, and it's definitely your money's worth.
Yeah, no, I have seen it. Let me just do a little screen share here, and here is the 15 different brands, or what do you call them, archetypes. So when someone goes in and takes that 5-minute test, and I've done that, the 5-minute test, and it's basically just a series of true and false questions, and each question is designed so that you kind of instinctively just go, is that true or is that false? It's not something you have to, think a whole lot about. All you need to do is know what it is your product or service is and who your customer is, and then you answer it from that perspective. And so, how did you come up with these 15 archetypes, and just sort of, paint the big picture of what people are seeing with this, this visual here?
Okay, the chart you're seeing right there are the 15 archetypes of ADMANITY, and each represents a basic primal emotion that humans tend to respond to. So when we analyze the ads from way back, ads from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, modern day ads, you start to see patterns. You start to see repetitive concepts, a formula, if you will, that is repeated over and over and over again. We as humans are emotionally triggered. We like to think we're brilliant and geniuses, and sometimes we are, but our rational mind is only about 5% of your total mindset, if you will. Emotions drive the human race, and which emotions drive sales are the ones you're looking at here. There's 1,000 human emotions, but these 15 are the ones that continue to repeat, continue to be seen again and again when you're looking at advertising and marketing and messaging and all the things that go into persuading someone to buy something. So if you're in business, you got something to sell, these 15 emotions you should be very concerned with. And in fact, I'll make it even easier. Only one of these emotions is really important to you. And when you take the test, we show you which one of these 15 your brand aligns with, and then you can see the strategies, the tactics, the formulas, the words, the phrases, the metaphors, the colors, the customer targeting, the upsells. Everything that's in the reports that we give you is centered around one of these emotional triggers, if you will, and we call them archetypes. And an archetype is nothing more than a category. It's just a representative sample. So there's a lot of traits and characteristics within each one of these archetypes, and we just show you how to use it. It's literally simple instructions, so simple that you'll wonder how you missed some of them. But no one ever showed this to you. No one ever gave you a class in this. And if you hire a big agency and spend some serious money, you'll get a very close approximation to some of these, because they're very agencies usually do very quality work, but most people can't afford it.
The one question I had asked you before, but I want to ask again is these 15 archetypes, is there some kind of a playbook in the advertising world that describes what all 15 of these are? And does every ad agency work out of that same playbook?
Well, to my knowledge, the playbook is ADMANITY. It has not been, and of course, when we were doing our research, and this was not put together, in a weekend. This took years. We would look at all research reports and any, even blog posts. There's a lot of smart people out there trying to find anyone who had put together an extensive system that could be followed, and there simply wasn't any available. I've searched the internet 1,000 times for it, so I'm pretty sure it's not really out there. There's fragments, there's pieces, there's hints, there's clues, there's moments of great wisdom from writers and advertising experts out there. But could you just simply plug somebody into a 5-minute online test? No, not until ADMANITY came along was this type of solution available, so that the common man, the common person, could literally in 5 minutes analyze their brand and bypass the pain, the drudgery, the wasted money of ads that don't work, of messaging that cannot connect. You have to resonate with the consumer. Once you do, you create a perfect state for products and services to be sold. If you miss that mark, you wonder why your ads don't work, and you start to hate advertising. So we want to turn that ship around and show you just how easy it can be to build your brand.
Let me throw back this screen just one more time. You mentioned, Brian, that 5% of the brain works in our conscious awareness, and 95% of the brain is in the subconscious. That number's been thrown around lots of different places.
Yep.
And yet these emotional triggers are really working on the subconscious. And then once a person makes a buying decision on the subconscious level, then they use the conscious level to actually validate and to confirm it. But they don't actually make the decision analytically and with the conscious brain.
Correct. Your subconscious, and I think they've proven it in many studies, the subconscious mind actually reaches a decision. An emotional trigger will be, let's say, sparked. The subconscious mind will make the decision a split second before your rational mind, the one we're using now to talk and communicate, a split second before your rational mind even realizes it. And then your rational mind speaks up and says, aha, here's what we shall do. But before that, the subconscious mind, which works amazingly faster, can process 1,000,000 times more information in a second than the rational mind can, has already calculated, already knows what it wants, and it deals in a whole different world. The rational mind wants facts, figures, dates, certainties. The subconscious mind is on feelings. It wants to simply just feel what it should do. When you have that gut feel, that old phrase, that's your subconscious in a sense, telling you that, yeah, I think we ought to go here. These are primal triggers. These are emotions. Your subconscious has your fears, your phobias, your talents, your creativity, all the really unique things that make you really unique are more part of your subconscious. And it's running your body and everything else that you're doing. You don't even think about it. You don't think about driving a car anymore. You just get in and do it. Subconscious is working with running all those subroutines so that you don't have to think about that anymore. And you can consciously think about something you're going to do today while you're subconsciously driving your car to work. It's very powerful, and I don't want to spend too much time on just how powerful it is, but these 15 emotions, when it comes to selling, this is what the subconscious mind likes to see. So we teach people how to communicate directly with the subconscious mind, because it's the mind that buys stuff.
Yeah. So I went in and I took the test. I did the 5-minute test, and you're right, it's just about 5 minutes. So it goes very, very quickly, and that's not with hurrying. That's just sort of taking your time and going through. And there's quite a few questions that you have to answer, but they, you almost instinctively know whether it's true or false. And so you just answer it and keep going. No trick questions. So you take the test, and then instantly, the second thing that happened is I get a summary report, and that was like a 3 or 4 page kind of analysis that talked about it. Now, in my particular case, I ended up getting attraction, and attraction is in the middle row and the last column over to the right. It's the AT that you see. And so that was what I did. So I'm going to show bits and pieces of that report and what the inside, like we'll back up a second. I ended up getting attraction. All right. Now, the next thing that happened was once I take the test and I get this summary report. Then I get a link to log into a portal, the back end, and there's all kinds of different information in there. But the thing that I was most interested in right away seeing was the fact that here is this full brand report. Brand attraction report is what you call it. And it's like 150 pages, and it's for attraction, and so now I'd like to go ahead and start to show what that sort of looks like in the back end. And this is like kind of the very first thing that you see as you open it up, and it says the ADMANITY Protocol, and then there's attraction. And I noticed that all of the 15 brands are all located down there. So I'm assuming that the other brands, if you had those full reports, it would be highlighted for either authority or urgency or whatever it might be.
Yeah, a part of the reason that the ADMANITY Protocol took years to create was we had to put together enough curriculum for each archetype. So you're not getting the same thing in every book. In fact, every archetype is completely unique within ADMANITY. So if you get the attraction report and your friend gets the authority report, you're going to be looking at all new strategies, tactics. Everybody's going to have a different game plan. And there's an amazing amount of depth. And so that's why we give you an online portal, because as we make updates and as we add more to it, if we printed out a book and handed you a book, it would be obsolete. So we want to make sure that every time you log in to your personal portal, you get the most up-to-date and current information, the best podcasts, the best blog posts, the most recent stuff. So your report here is all about attraction, because during your test, the algorithm determined that these are the traits and characteristics that will most quickly build your brand.
The next screen I want to share is kind of a zoom in of that top. You see a top, I guess it's like kind of like a control panel. And so that's what I'm going to, that's what I'm zooming in here. So now you can see that there's essentially a menu bar all the way to the left, and then there's a slider that can actually enhance it. And I didn't discover that right away. And I'm like, I couldn't see it. I was like trying to look and read this, and I wanted to. My eyes don't work as well as they used to, and so I was really glad to see that. You can just sort of zoom in and enlarge it, and then there's a way to quick jump from different pages, and you can see that this particular report has 152 pages, and then there's a search bar over there. So that was this report comes on an online, you said the portal is what you see. And so the entire report is laid out in a digital format, which makes it easy for you to go and navigate through. And then I want to show the next one is actually kind of that actual menu. So I clicked on that menu on the left, and it exploded this table of contents, and it shows, and you can see that each table of contents is its own little arrow drop down, so you can even see more detail. And if you go to the reports page, table of contents, let's see right here, you can see over on the right side, that's what, the full report looks like. And so, the point is there's multiple ways to, navigate through this. Who in the world figured this out? That's pretty clever.
Well, we can thank the president of ADMANITY, Roy Regalado. When we originally collaborated on the project, you can see this is just one archetype. Can you imagine doing 15? There was so much information and such a, and how do you dispense it in a organized manner? How do you make it attractive to the eye? How do you create a brand around thousands of pages of curriculum that's available to ADMANITY members? It takes somebody better than me. I'll tell you that. I wrote a lot of this, most of it, but what I was able to create didn't look too good. So what you see before you is the result of a lot of people working very hard to organize this into, because we knew it had to be simple, right? Anything in advertising is simple if it's good, right? And so you can't complicate things and make people learn it. You have to simplify things if you want people to learn it. So you can just go through this. Now, a lot of people won't need some of these chapters, kind of like an owner's manual for your car. You get your car and they give you an owner's manual that's this thick. You don't need to read that today, but it's nice to know that it's all there for you someday if you need it. Some of these things in here will be immediately needed to create ads and get going. And some of them you may not need right now, but it's there and it's on point and it's on brand. So the attraction archetype has certain traits, and it doesn't matter what the business is. If you're the attraction archetype, it works for you.
The first thing that I was really interested in myself is, okay, so now I'm the attraction brand or the archetype. And then I discovered that there are related archetypes that you're calling the DNA, which is the dominant natural advantage. So in other words, like I'm an attraction archetype, but then there's, like, we'll call them sub archetypes that like all connect with that. So they're like elements and pieces of it. So it's not like one is one of the 15 isn't stand completely alone. It has other archetypes that are closely connected. And in the case of attraction, the 4 DNAs for attraction were innovation, authority, admiration, and fascination. Describe how you came up with the idea of connecting all these pieces.
Well, if you go online, you'll find a lot of blog posts and people saying you should use emotion. Emotion is the prime driver of humanity. Get more emotion in your stuff. That's what'll make people buy. And it's true. But then most of them sort of leave you there at the cliff looking down, because they don't say which emotions and how do they trigger? How does this work? This is it's like learning a new language. So we realized early on that you couldn't just say attraction, put it in a big bucket, and say, all you attraction people do this. These emotions that make up or trigger attraction just doesn't happen. You have to make people feel that type of emotion. And attraction stands for change, by the way. The primal trigger is change. So people like attraction brands because it transforms them, it changes them, it improves them. Okay, so what emotions create the feeling that I will change, I will improve, and I will transform? If you can put those together, you have a great ad, and people will believe that they will get what they want. They want to change, they want to transform. They might not even believe they can do it. It's a very difficult thing to change. So you see authority as one of the pillars there, where we show you, at some point you've got to convince people to trust you because they may not trust themselves. They may not believe they can change, but your authority will convince them that together you have the power. Okay. And when we're done, you may be more admirable. You may be more enviable. You may have the result you want. It's all the things you've dreamed about will be hopefully within your grasp because you are part of our attraction brand. The innovation attraction brands are constantly bringing out new ideas and new ways to change and transform. So as you can see, there's just a lot that goes into what is going to go into these ads, but it's not just some simple label and some off the cuff tips. The strategies, the tactics, and the formulas are algorithmically figured out based on what winning ads are doing. So you're really following in the footsteps of billion-dollar brands. And by the way, Steve, a lot of people think because they're small, they can't do what the big brands do. Absolutely categorically false. You should do exactly what the big brands are doing. just do it on a much smaller budget. That's the difference, because the emotions are the same in all human beings. They don't change because it's Coca-Cola. You have the same emotions watching a local ad as you do a national ad.
And if I'm a small brand and I'm not spending $1 on advertising, I am writing blog posts and I am posting things on social media, and I do have a website, and all of these tactics and strategies and ideas can be put right into your blog post and your articles and your emails and your website.
Yeah, that's a great point. A lot of people think, well, I don't buy a lot of ads, or, it's COVID right now as we're making this recording. A lot of people have backed off on advertising, which I understand. However, I think it's somewhat of a mistake. Don't back off totally, folks. I know it's hard, but you've got to keep the brand above the noise. But, it plays well into ADMANITY, because we're not saying you got to go out and spend a bunch of money to use ADMANITY. Heck, words are free. Emotions are free. Colors are free. All the things that motivate people, most everything, is at no cost or low cost. Emails don't cost any money. You can sit there and type them all day. Social media, you need to have the right message in your social media. Your website could probably use a little updating, right? So once you learn the words, the phrases, the metaphors, everything that's in the book, the report, the brand attraction report, you can start to tweak and start to upgrade your whole brand, and it won't cost you 1 cent. And then when someday, the economy comes back and you got your ad budget all ready to go again, now you start firing the right kind of ammunition, because you're on brand, on point, you're in alignment, you're resonant with your targeted consumer. There are so many consumers out there, and not all of them are very good for your brand. Some of them would be better off if they went to your competitor's brand, okay? Let them torment your competitor rather than you, right? We all have customers like that. When you are brand attractive, because you're putting out the right vibes, you attract the kind of customer that already likes you. They're happy customers. They're happy from day one. When you are not brand attractive, you have to depend on sales. Sales is fine, but a lot of times people can be sold, and then a week later, they're not very happy about it, and they become non-brand attractive customers. And we've all been there and done that. So we try to show you, this is what just brings in the business. This is what people want. Just do what they want.
Yeah. So your page, 150 pages, all I've done is I've done a screenshot of like one page from each chapter that sort of just gives people like a quick general feel of it. So I had shown, this idea that a archetype has other archetypes that feed into it. And so it's not quite as simple. And then you talk about there's like several pages for each of these, for innovation, several pages for authority, several pages, and explaining all this. But we're going to run out of time if I don't keep moving. The next page the next chapter is basically the simple formula, 1, 2, 3, you call it. Just run through that and tell us what this chapter is all about.
Well, the algorithm is very complex, and really, we don't try to expect people to understand all the math that went into this. But at the end of the day, you get a very simple formula to use. 1 + 2 = 3. So all we're saying with 1 + 2 = 3 is one emotion paired with a second emotion, 1 + 2, equals 3. And 3 is your brand. In every example in your ADMANITY brand attraction report, you're going to get 16 different methods to create a winning ad. Each one, at the end result, is somebody buying your brand. That's number 3. So it's very simple. This one plus this one equals the formula you need to sell your product. And then we show you examples of what it looks like, and we write it up and show you. It's just not a guessing game. It's very specific, and you just pick the ones that you like, and we give you enough formulas to last you for years, maybe decades.
Yeah, and I haven't even had a chance to look so closely at that, because it's only been a week since I've been looking at this report. And, getting my head around the whole thing was the first step, which I've already done. But now it's like, oh, okay, now you can dive in, and this is basically showing, is showing the formula that you can use, and not just one formula, but 16. So that's great. Let's just keep moving. And you mentioned this before, but no, the hidden advantage. What is your hidden advantage? And what does that mean? There's a whole chapter dedicated to it, section 4 in your book or your report.
Right. The algorithm reveals not only strategies for attracting new customers, but specific upselling strategies. So every archetype has an upsell. So what is an upsell? That means somebody is already your customer, they're already happy, they're already buying, but you'd like them to buy a little bit more, of course, or maybe more frequently. So how do we get them to buy more? They're already in, and they already kind of responded to our attraction techniques. How do you get them to buy more? Well, it's a completely different archetype that we add to the mix that makes them say, aha, now for that reason, I will buy more. And that's how you do it. There's a very specific formula for that, and every archetype is different. So you read about the hidden, we call it the hidden advantage, because it was in the math. It was a very, not an obvious thing at first. And then when we found it in the algorithm, it was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. The upselling tactic is right here in front of us. And we at first we didn't even see it. So it's just one other thing that you get in your report. And I think people are going to love that.
Yeah, I've often heard that it's much cheaper to just go ahead and sell a little bit more to your existing customer than to go out and try to find a brand new customer each time. So this talks about, that specifically. Now, there's also a couple of archetypes that are kind of counter to your particular archetype. So in other words, there's some things that are inverse or kind of no-nos as far as what you want to do. And you talked about that also.
Yeah, we don't focus too long on that because there's so much positive. There really are no bad archetypes, but there are some that are just scored very low for you. So you just kind of take that with a grain of salt. You really don't need them. Could you use them? Yeah, we could find a way, but you really don't need them because the archetypes that scored so high for you are going to be so much more effective, but we felt an obligation to at least point them out in this chapter.
Yeah, it has to do with focusing on your strengths as opposed to your weaknesses. And so, we can never improve our weaknesses. So let's not even try to worry about them. Let's just focus on our core strengths. And I think that's what that chapter is all about. Now, here's where it gets fun. Every word you write should be the exact words your audience wants to read. And you have listed, this is just the power words, and this only shows the top of the first page. There's 2 full pages of words that are, especially for, in my case, the attraction brand. But if it was a fascination brand or some other brand, it would have other words that you give them. It's like a cheat sheet.
Yeah, I love this section. We call it the ghost archetype because it's almost like a ghost writer. There's 170,000 words in the English language. And to try to pick out the words that sell your brand the best is not an easy task. And every archetype has its own persuasion library. So what we're looking at here are the keywords for the attraction brand. And there's phrases as well. So when you get done in metaphors and everything else, we basically show you all the words that persuade people to buy attraction. Start working these into your website. Start working them into your emails. Show them to your salespeople. They need to start learning the words that psychologically influence your customers to buy. Words matter. They mean things. So, we give you all the words, and you can use this. It's like plug and play right out of the box. First day you have ADMANITY, you can go to your ghost section and start tweaking and improving your copy. And it doesn't take any high level skills to be able to do that. When you see the words, you're going to be like, oh, I knew that word. And then you're going to be, oh, I forgot that word. Oh, that's a great word. It's better than the words I found. If I asked a typical ADMANITY customer to write down all the keywords they use, they'd come up with about maybe 30. Here you're going to have maybe over 500 or more, over 1,000 in some cases. So it's pretty cool when you just get it handed to you.
Yeah, no, I love that. Now I'm going to keep rolling along here. You have a section that is basically talks about colors. And if you look over, and this is for attraction, and again, over on the right, the third column, there's red and blue. Well, when I created Speaking Gump back in 2009, I chose red and blue, and those exact same, color codes just transferred right over to American Gumption. They don't match the flag perfectly, but they're red and they're blue. And so anyway, I just thought this was kind of a fun thing. It's just, I didn't look too far into it, but anything else you want to say about color? Or?
Well, a lot of people don't realize that color influences decision making, and this is again your subconscious mind. You see red. Red is, I believe, the first color the eye sees in the spectrum. It's exciting to see red. That's why you see a lot of sale signs in red, and it catches our attention quickly. And blue is a power color. It implies a lot of trust and authority, and fascination, excitement, and authority, trust is part of your archetype. So while color is very opinionated in the advertising world, everyone has an opinion. Nobody doubts the fact that the right colors can matter, and you wouldn't want to have some crazy off-brand color just to be different when the whole world has been conditioned psychologically to respond to the normal spectrum. So here we're giving you some good tips on how to get started. And we're not saying you got to change your logo tomorrow, but we're saying here's how you might start weaving in influential colors.
Yeah, no, I love that. And then at the very end, you have section 9, which is just laws, lists, and lessons. It just, it really just gives you kind of some great general background information to think about. And then there's even a section 10. It's like if you want to even go deeper and learn more about things. So, and you can see at the top of this page, it's like 142 of 152. So there it is. I mean, my goodness, this is quite the, you did a good job. You and Roy and Chris, or whoever, that genius who actually made it technology wise work. You guys have done a wonderful job, and I'm very happy with my report.
Oh, well, thank you, Steve. Everyone worked so hard on this. This is, if we'd have known how much work would be required to finish the job, I'm not sure we would have started the job. You look back. I'm so glad we did it, but I wouldn't want to do it again. So I'm glad it's all built now. It's a Cadillac. Please get in the car. Those of you who are watching. Get an advanced master's degree in your own brand. It's the only brand that really matters in your world right now, especially with the pressures of COVID adding to an already tricky business landscape. When you get to the crux of what we do, we show you what works on a human being. Technology is great. I love technology. We are technology. But it's funny, we're using a very advanced technology to show you the most basic human primal functions and explain it to you, because I think it's getting lost out there. Tech, data, target. Everything is becoming so focused on what will technology do for me that we're forgetting that we're human beings. We're driven by emotion. We are not driven by data. We are not driven by logic. We love to think we are. We're driven emotionally. This shows you, hey, folks, just do this. This is what seems to work, and it seems to always work, and it'll probably work long after we're gone, because humans aren't going to rewrite the program, right? We've been this way for thousands of years. Trust in that.
So people want to take the test. They go to ADMANITY.com. The normal price is how much?
We have the price that you'll see on our website is $397. That includes the test, the brand brief that you mentioned, the instant diagnostic. We tell you all about your brand, even though we don't even know you yet, really. You get access to the portal with all the blogs, the podcasts, the videos, the training, and of course, your brand attraction report is kept there so that it, as we adapt and add more to it, you'll always have the most up-to-date report. So you get all that for $397. There's a money-back guarantee, 30 days. If you're unhappy for any reason, you get all your money back. There's no risk to try it out. You can literally read every word and make your decision within 30 days. And so the normal price is $397, and agencies and people we've dealt with tell us that we're way underpriced for that. It's worth far more. We agree, but our goal is to help millions of businesses. So we've got to keep the price where they can afford it right now. I think it's very important that we don't always price things at top value. I think even though it has more value, we've got to get this out there and help people right now.
And because you love the American Gumption Morning Show and the American Gumption Morning Show audience, you are offering a special code that a person can fill in, no COVID 100, all caps. And if they do that, they will save $100, and the price will be $297 instead of $397. Is that correct?
Yes. When you get to the checkout page, you actually are ready to buy your brand attraction report and everything that comes with it. Just type, there's a thing that says promo code, type in no COVID 100, all caps, just like you see it there, and it will instantly save you $100, just that easy, instantly, and then you'll pay $297, which is obviously a far better deal, and we hope everybody takes advantage of that.
Great. And so I'll put this in the notes, but obviously at some point this deal won't last forever. So we'll put it in there, and this show will last forever on the internet, but you may be watching this, at some point in the future, and that deal is no longer available. So I just encourage people that if it's something you want to do, and it's something that's going to help you today, go ahead and take advantage of it. I've been really pleased with it. I still think there's more and maybe specific. So maybe we can find a time in the next couple of weeks and we'll continue the conversation. I find it fascinating because I'm trying to build my brand. I'm trying to, attract as wide of an audience as I can. And yet I want to attract the right audience. And I also want to be able to attract sponsors who, I would fit their needs. And so I could see myself, using other reports to kind of, as I speak about certain other products or sponsors, I might use slightly different language than when I'm talking, to the core American Gumption morning show audience.
That's very true, and especially the bigger the brand is. And in the beginning of the hour, you showed the many different tangents that your brand could spin off to, and as a brand is able to create those alter egos of itself, sometimes it's wise to get an ADMANITY report for each one, just because they have different audience, different emotions, different goals, different pricing. It may share the name. There's a lot of line extension. We call that line extension in the advertising game, where they use the same name to bring out another product, but it's not always the same audience, is it? It's sometimes different people, and they're capitalizing on the name. So I think, for right now, if you just get an ADMANITY report for your basic brand, take the 5-minute test. It's true, false. Anybody can take it, and then read your brand brief, and I think you'll be pretty impressed. And then when you get to the big report, like we've shown today, I think you'll be blown away at the depth and the level. It is as if an ad agency had sat down with you and examined your brand and spent, in most cases, it would take weeks and 100 hours of a group's time in an agency to really analyze a brand. And we can do it much faster. I'm not saying we do it better than an agency. I'm just saying we can do it much faster, much less money. And for the average small business right now, that's the solution they need. They need it quick, and they want answers. They want them today, because COVID will not last forever. When the fog lifts, will your brand be ready? Will you have guns loaded? And are you going to be ready to attack the market in the right way without wasting money? If you have an ADMANITY report, I believe you will.
Brian, thank you for joining us this morning. I really like what you're doing, and I would like to have you, we'll find out a time that you can come back and we'll continue this maybe in a few weeks, and we can kind of dig into another aspect as I've learned a little bit more and have some more questions about it. But I really think this is something that could be helpful to, brands like myself who are, can't afford to hire a big ad agency at this point, but we need that information. So anyway, thank you. Anything last minute you want to say?
Well, I would like to thank you for having me on. And next time I come back, if I come back, I would love to go into some details. I'd like to show people how a brand can turn around, because a lot of people are at a low level right now and they may feel a little beat up. And I'm going to show you some examples of brands that were, oh gosh, so much more beat up than you can even imagine. And they came back and became billion-dollar winners just because they turned up the volume knob on their ad and changed their game, and they became brand attractive. And I'll show some examples of that. You folks, you can do it too. Do not feel beat up. Do not feel like the game is lost. It's simply a matter of tuning your radio into the right frequency of your consumer. Once you do that, they respond. And I hope that we can help a lot of people. And by being on quality shows like this, Steve, we will do that. So thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. And the special deal is enter a no COVID 100, and you'll save $100 off of your report. So you get all of that for $297. All righty. Well, that is that. Brian, thank you so much. We will see you the next time you come and join us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve.
All righty. Well, that was Brian Gregory. I've full disclosure, I've worked with Brian for the last 4 years, or at least I've gotten to know Brian over the last several years. We had a project that we took to the altar, and then the bride and groom didn't show up, but hey, we like each other and we trust each other. And so I did want to, continue to share what Brian's doing and how he's reinvented the way advertising is going to work in the future, but not just advertising, just talking about your brand. So thank you, Brian, for joining us again. And now tomorrow, Monday, I'm going to probably take the plan right now is that I will have no live show. I'll be back on Tuesday, and I've been doing that the last couple of weeks. That might be the new routine. So I do 5 shows one week, 4 shows the next week, take the Monday off. Long term, we're going to add in a best of show there. Still figuring out how to make that all work. So, but it's all happening, right? We're taking small steps each and every week, and we're moving the American Gumption ship forward. All righty, everybody, have a great weekend. Yes, change that one clock that you need to change, and the other 9 clocks will automatically change because we've gone to a digital world. And if you go out trick-or-treating, have fun tomorrow night. Make sure you wear your mask so that you are and socially distanced. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. We'll see you again next week. Let's see. Here we go. The closing song. There we go. I know how to do this. All right, before I sign off, I have Roy checking in, Brian's partner, and he said, great show. Thank you. Yeah, Roy, look forward to meeting you. I've gotten to know Brian the last few years, and I've heard the great work that you and your team are doing, so keep up the great work there. And then this is for Brian out there. Bettina, who has been a guest twice, she has a show, an all-day summit on the December the 9th. And she says, I would love for you to both to be at the summit. Would you be open to doing this interview in 30 minutes? Bettina, I don't know. Brian, he talks for 45 minutes to an hour minimum. And when he's talking to me, it takes an hour and a half. But I'm part of that problem. So, but we could probably accommodate that. So, all righty, we'll take care of that. We'll work out those details. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you.